And we're live.
Hey, hello.
Hi. We're here for using humor at work. And I am Laura Bergells, a LinkedIn instructor. I teach public speaking courses and business communication courses. And with me today is Izzy. And Izzy, introduce yourself.
I too am a LinkedIn instructor in courses humor in the workplace. I also teach applied improv, and I'm a facilitator. Been doing it for a long time, and humor is a topic I study a lot. So I'm really interested in this. So welcome everybody.
Terrific. Well, we're going to kick things off right away. And you know how a lot of these things start with, hey, if you can hear us, state what your name is and where you're from. But for this event, what we'd like you to do is answer a really simple question, which is, what makes you smile at work? Did something make you smile at work this morning? Did something make you laugh? Tell us what that is in the comments. We'd really love to hear what that is. And if you don't have anything that made you smile at work today, or you never use humor at work, tell us in the comments what stops you from using humor in the workplace. And while you're typing and answering those questions in the comments, I'm going to share like a 1-minute story about what prompted Izzy and I to do this LinkedIn Live event today. And it's because we both use improv games and improv techniques in our workshops and sessions in real life. And in the past, I always hesitated to tell executives we were using improv because it sort of had a negative connotation. But now executives are all about the improv. They're thinking that, yeah, it really helps us with creativity and innovation and brainstorming and being spontaneous and thinking on our feet. So yeah, we're all about the improv. But then I had one SVP tell me, just no humor, no jokes. We don't want this to be funny. This is a serious business. We don't do humor at work. And we had what I would call a bunch of snappy comebacks to that. So we have 5 snappy comebacks, and I'd like to go over them one by one with you. So for the SVP who told me, yeah, we don't do humor, no humor at work, our number 1 comeback was, hey, if we can't have humor in the workplace, then we should all cancel all the team building activities and just have everyone work in an isolation pod, and bonus, no name tags either.
Yeah, and the reason I like this so much is that humor brings people together, or at least connects them in the listener and the teller. If you're in an organization that doesn't like humor, generally it's because they're afraid of it somehow, or that there's an understanding that some humor can be destructive or negative to somebody, but that doesn't mean that you throw all humor away. It's very simple to put positive humor activities into the daily routine and build a culture where people enjoy being with each other.
Exactly right. And that's why we even asked you, what makes you smile at work? Because that's humor. Whatever it was that made you smile, that's humor in the workplace.
Yeah,
and we need to respect that.
Yeah, I just want to say a quick tip. Pay attention to things that make you smile and laugh. You may not be aware of the fact that there is humor that comes in. Who makes you smile? Who are you happy to be around? Who do you look forward to sitting with at the meeting? So what we're asking you to do is raise that level of awareness where humor is already in your life and organization, and then you could access it more frequently.
Yeah, and one more thing, I'm piling on. It's like, yes, and I'm yes-anding you right away.
Yes, that's right.
We're living in an age where so many people, executives, are saying, hey, you need to come back to the workplace. You need to come back to the office. And if you don't have humor there, you might as well be in a cubicle or working out of your home, or living in an isolation pod, because humor is really part of the things that make you smile, that bring joy, are one of the delights of working in a workplace like that.
And I will yes and that one more time. And think about when you were at home or not being able to go into the office, how you brought humor into your daily life. somehow, and some break that you may have taken, or you're a little distraction on the computer. So you understand by those behaviors that it's a nourishing force. It can be a nourishing force. So bring that to the office also.
And now to our snappy comeback number two, to the executive who told us no humor, is, okay, we'll skip the humor. If you promise to start every meeting with another one of your dramatic monologues about your weekend golf game, do we have a deal?
People like that don't understand that the function of a meeting is to get progress towards an issue or some kind of a goal, not to deliver a speech. And again, depending on who runs the meetings, it's just as easy to bring in something that lightens the atmosphere and brings people together. That's the other thing. The beginning of a meeting is a place where people are coming in, different times, different energies, different functions of humor is to bring people together. When you're laughing, generally people are nodding, they're in the same moment. And it's a way of transitioning from the daily work to the agenda so that you can get things done.
Exactly. A lot of people say, hey, no icebreakers. Icebreakers are really tacky. We've had bad icebreaker experiences. But when people get together and talk about, hey, let's talk about what we did over the weekend, or hi, some of those phatic phrases like, how are you? How was your weekend? Hey, here's a weird thing that my dog did. All those kind of things are humorous. We end up laughing about them, and it does create that sense of cohesion and teamwork and camaraderie that we're actually looking for. And this particular executive really does like to go on about his golf game, which is fine if everyone was on board with his golf game. I just found it really interesting that here's somebody who doesn't want any humor, but he has no problem for talking for 5 minutes about his golf game.
Yeah, and unless he brings it into the agenda and the objective, it shouldn't be there. I'm pretty fascinated with the negative characteristic that icebreaker has for a lot of people, because so many people, it's been used in such random ways. It rarely has been tied to the function of the group. So I was thinking in terms of why do people hate icebreakers? Maybe because the Titanic hit an iceberg, and so they don't like icebreakers. But I would also say not every boat hit the iceberg. There are other boats who did not sink like that. So the idea with the icebreaker is choose something that fits into the agenda and and have a purpose. And one purpose is to bring people together. Another is to share experience. Another is to get the meeting rolling.
Exactly. So I'm going to hit on number three, our number three snappy comeback to the no humor at work guy, which was even the most serious meetings could use a touch of whimsy. Imagine the creativity that could flow if we all pretended to be pirates or superheroes in a meeting. If we all just got out of our heads and stopped thinking and acting like we usually do, we could brainstorm new ideas and pump innovation into the company.
Yeah. Again, my curiosity about these kinds of things. I love this idea, Laura. Think about Halloween. And for many years, I noticed that Halloween was one of the few times that people, adults, could dress up and imagine that they were another creature. And look at how much fun that, people would get, they'd go to Goodwill and get stuff. And it was a fun event. And then you become a different character. It's like cosplay in real life. So if you can be creative, humor comes from creativity very often. Most laughter is from the element of surprise. So if you can make something creative and unexpected and connecting, you have a really good culture at that office or that company or that manufacturing center.
I tell you what, there are a lot of ideas that we've had and a lot of innovations that came out of play and laughter. They seldom come out of grinding on it and sitting in a very serious way. You kind of have to lighten up. And humor is a great way to lighten the mood so that your brain can kind of relax and come up with those innovative new ideas. Do you grind on it afterwards, after you have the idea and you go back to your office and put it together? Yeah, sure. I'll do that. But sometimes to get those lighthearted moments going and those ideas flowing, you need to think differently and act differently. And
And that's the way you solve
humor,
problems. Yeah.
humor,
A
yeah.
basic humor question is what if? What if you put X and Y together? They don't ordinarily fit, but what if we put them together? So that's humor is really a creative exercise.
I quite agree with you. Our fourth one, not our last one. My favorite one is the last one, but our fourth snappy comeback is
Penultimate.
humor is the duct tape that holds our work relationships together. Without them, things start to unravel on us.
Think about living in a world, office world, personal world, home that has not humor or has humor as an enemy or a disruptor. I think I used to be a teacher, and I remember that sometimes people who walk by a class and kids are laughing, they think the teacher's not doing a good job because somehow the kids aren't learning, and it doesn't. I try to understand that because it really is a matter of relationships. So what we're suggesting is that even if you're in a culture that's very difficult about humor and not respected, you can have humor for yourself. Wear a pin that you like, or have underwear or socks on that nobody would see. But there you go, boy, if anybody could see my Peter Pan boxer shorts, I have a good time putting them on, because you would smile when you put them on in the morning. So what we're saying is that don't let others deny you about humor. You always have a chance to lighten up on yourself.
It's true. A lot of people say, yeah, we don't do humor in the workplace. And even that place that I was visiting that said we don't do humor in the workplace, people's offices had all sorts of whimsical things next to their monitors, little toys or photos of their family, photos of their dogs, photos of just little funny sayings and things that are happening. You know what? That's humor in the workplace. And you seem to
Yeah.
be doing it really well and in an ad hoc way.
Yeah. If you look at people's cubicles or work areas or staff rooms, you'll see touches of light. People lighten up with posters, with quotes, with sayings in their cubicle. You have souvenirs of trips. You have your family pictures. So even if you remember funny or humorous moments, you could use that as sort of a meditation, because when you think about something pleasant, your body responds as if it's happening right now. Because to your memory, an emotion is as real as the actual event. So if you think happy thoughts, your body will feel happy. If you think funny thoughts, you will feel funny.
And there's always seems to be someone in the workplace, and happily, I work with a lot of people that make me feel this way. Just seeing those people makes my day. It
Hmm.
lightens me up. Hey, I work with you, Izzy. Every time you pop into a Zoom meeting or something, I always go, "Oh, it's Izzy," and I smile. It's like, "Hi, Izzy."
Yeah, yeah.
It's really small. This is just really, your basic humor is just having a little bit of a smile just to see a colleague. That's
You know,
humor.
yeah, Laura, what you touch on is the power of the expectation of humor. As a humorist and as someone who's given hundreds and hundreds of speeches on humor, very often people would come up to me before my speech and go, "I hear you're a humorist. You better be funny." There's an expectation when people have a reputation, or they say when somebody says to you, "Hey, I want to tell you a joke," you sort of go, "Okay," and then if it doesn't hit, you go, "That wasn't that funny." So there's a disappointment. Think of when if you watch late night TV, and they announce your favorite comedian is going to be the next guest after, in a few minutes, you're excited about, oh yeah, you're smiling, you have anticipation, because humor lasts in the memory and in the body and in the expectation. So that's why there's such a letdown if people promise humor and don't give it. So that's another interesting fact of humor.
Yes, it's a really difficult thing when somebody marches up to you and demands that you be funny, because a lot of the funny rolls out of the situation, and it's
Exactly.
not, oh, I'm going to command funny, it's going to happen. I think the funniest thing that ever happened when somebody walked up to somebody who was known to be funny and they said, "Okay, I hear that you're a funny woman, so say something funny. And she said, no.
That's one
Make me
response.
laugh.
That's one response. I had that happen fairly often. And the two things that I would recommend to people. One is if you're known as a humorist, somebody says, make me laugh. You go, what are you? I'm a doctor. Cure me. So give it back to them because you're not working right now. The other thing is have a joke or have something funny that you know gets a laugh and have it with you. I will share with you my go-to humor when somebody says, got anything funny? Here's what I always say. I said, well, yeah. There are 3 stages in life. There's youth, adult, and you look good. So that works pretty well everywhere. So what we're suggesting is that something that you find funny, that you tell well and is quick, carry it with you. If somebody says, make me laugh, or you say, I want to tell you a joke, there you go. And that's it. And whether they laugh or not, that's okay.
I think you touch on another point that a lot of people think that humor is jokes. And I run into that as a public speaking coach all the time because people will say, they said that I should start with a joke. And what's a good joke for me? And I'm like, that's not humor. Let's figure out what it is that you want to communicate and find the humor in that. All right. But humor doesn't necessarily mean jokes. It can be, but
Exactly.
if people are telling you to use humor in a speech, they aren't saying, sprinkle in a couple of jokes because you're not a comedian. You can probably have a very humorous speech and not have a single joke in it.
You can have humor without even saying a word. So if you have a slide, a PowerPoint slide that announces your topic, you could put a cartoon, a graphic, you could put a saying that you find ironic or funny or representative of the topic. And when people will see it, they'll smile and you will get credit for bringing some laughter and smiling to the audience. So you don't need to be able to tell jokes. Don't risk telling jokes unless you've practiced, and make sure you know your audience, because that could get you in a lot of trouble within a minute of starting your speech.
I have actually been in one of those speeches in the audience where somebody started with a joke and the joke was wildly inappropriate. It didn't connect to his overall story. And I was like, what is he doing? Why did he just alienate his entire audience? Which he did. So be careful about the jokes, and instead maybe rely on a bit of humor that'll capture someone's attention.
And know your audience. So if you're at work and you're joking about the boss or the CEO, that could be a challenge. If I can give a really fast lesson, there are 4 functions of humor. Know why you're doing the humor. So the 4 functions generally are humor functions as a shield to protect you. So self-deprecating humor, self-effacing humor, laughing about the things we do that make us human, but we could be silly. Humor functions as a weapon. So people use sarcasm and put down humor about the others to make people think of the phrase, we put them down, we left them speechless, we stuck it to them. There's all these aggressive speech terms that are essentially weapons. The 3rd function is the bridge. This is the positive one. You laugh with somebody. Yeah, I get it. That moment makes you feel connected to them. And the 4th one is a spotlight. People use humor to bring attention to themselves. So if you're in a meeting and somebody's cracking jokes or making loud, smart aleck responses, every attention goes to them. Another function of the spotlight is to remove the attention. So if there's a difficult subject about layoffs or cancer, or somebody will make a humorous remark so that the laughter can relieve tension, and people may not be focused on that bad thing. So it's such a rich subject. So know why you're doing it and who you're doing it to before you do it.
Thanks for that, Izzy. And that leads us to our 5th and final snappy comeback to the guy who said no to humor, or to bosses who say no to humor. And his reason for saying that was, listen, we're multicultural. We have people from all over the world working for us, and what works in one culture doesn't work in another culture. Some cultures don't like humor because it's a privacy issue. They don't feel they should be sharing personal things about their lives, so let's just never do that. And my response to that is, laughter, humor, it's a universal language. Humor helps you actually bridge those cultural gaps and creates a more inclusive environment.
It is the humanistic aspect of bringing, because life is hard, that there has to be some joy and there has to be some happiness to counterbalance. That's just the way I think about it. I remember being asked to speak on humor in the workplace at an international manufacturing conference, and I got there a day or two early, as I usually do, talk to some of the people. There was an exhibitor event, and different countries were showing different things. I walked around because I wanted to get some information. So I remember going to a German company, and I asked, "What's humor in the workplace like there?" And they go, "We don't use humor in the workplace. It's not a funny place." Oh, okay. So you don't have humor? We do. We have it at home. We have it when we get together. We have it during Oktoberfest, but we don't have it at work. Okay, that's interesting. I went to a Japanese company. What about humor in the workplace? Well, it's not appropriate because you don't show your emotions. You're there for working. What I realized was that I had to talk the next day, and I had to figure out how to talk about humor in the workplace for people who didn't necessarily have humor in the workplace. So what I thought was, what's universal? And I found three things that are pretty universal about humor: aging, children, and technology. Those are things that universally people have similar perspectives. So if you're going to be international, make sure you understand what is and what is not funny, and also connect human-wise. Your children, your the three aspects of technology, aging, and family.
We have Richard chiming in to say great advice, wonderful and useful stuff, Izzy. So thank you for that, Richard. Appreciate you. Appreciate you a
Thanks,
lot.
Richard. Yeah.
So Izzy, I do have a couple of questions for you that
Okay.
came up.
Yeah.
And one was, how do you know if someone is good at humor in the workplace?
Do you want to be around them? Do you try to avoid them? Do you feel that they are collaborative? Do they use humor to make a situation better? Are they sharing the positive and joyful things in there? And do they have a sense of humor that is cooperative with yours? And,
Yeah,
that's pretty much. Reputation is very truthful in this situation, that some people may think you have a great sense of humor and other people may not get it, and that's just part of the deal.
I think my answer to something like that would be, I like people who use humor to lighten the mood. They build rapport, they enhance creativity, they don't mock, they don't criticize or offend others. They probably stick to your big three of aging and pets and children and technology.
We could do four. We could add pets. I like that one.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
yeah. I think another thing could be that humorous people also know when to stop being humorous and to switch to a more serious tone when the situation requires it.
Exactly.
I am a silly person. I'm a very silly person. However, I am not a flaky person. I get my job done, and I also work in crisis. I know that working in crisis, that yeah, sometimes things are very serious, but I also know that if we don't have humor on the teams that I work on, that we will crack up because sometimes the situation is very dire.
Yeah. The phrase I used to use is take yourself lightly and take your work seriously.
For sure.
Yeah.
And I think another key for me is to laugh at yourself. And I know that I'm often cautioned as a woman that, oh, you can't laugh at yourself because then other people won't take you seriously. And I think that laughing at yourself shows that you can admit your mistakes that without being defensive.
That's the humanistic connection. Let me just say that in the work that I've done, I just want to encourage people. There's a difference between self-deprecating humor and self-effacing humor. Self-effacing humor is laughing at what you do. So when you trip, you're clumsy, you're fool, you make a mistake. We all do that. Self-derogatory humor is laughing at who you are. And you are fine, the person. So don't put yourself down too much, but make fun of the things that happen to you and things that you do.
Sure. Hey, I was just telling Izzy a story before we hopped on here that I had to put in these and put the dogs down in the family room. Usually they're nice and quiet, but for some reason, one of the dogs just started howling like mad 15 minutes before this this live event. And I said, well, that's pretty silly. I mean, there's no reason for the dog to start howling. So I thought it was sort of funny. And we have Bob King. Bob King says humor is situational. It is. And what's funny in one room might not be funny in another. So
Roger,
reading the room is a critical emotional quotient skill for humor. And that's absolutely true. Izzy does a wonderful program about that on LinkedIn Learning, and it's called Humor in the Workplace, correct?
Exactly. It is called Humor in the Workplace.
Yep.
And the idea about reading the room is an EQ skill. What that means that humor is a dialogue, not a monologue. Many people think I'm going to tell a joke. It's all about me. It's a monologue, but the audience is important. So Bob, thanks for that reading the room piece. And I hope, Raju, I hope that's correct. You do need to be careful because like love and hate, they're both the different sides of the same direction. And that's why the 4 functions of humor may be helpful.
Yeah, Raju says, if you use humor, sometimes we run the risk of not taking the information seriously when it needs serious attention. And sure, you do need to be careful.
Take yourself lightly and your work seriously.
Exactly right.
That's
exactly
one way to do it.
So that said, Izzy's workshop, Humor in the Workplace, is available at LinkedIn Learning. It is 100% free to LinkedIn Premium members. And if you're not a LinkedIn Premium member, check out your local library because most libraries in the United States and Canada will offer that class for free for the low, low price of having a library card. And now one of our other LinkedIn colleagues has popped in. He's Joe LeBlanc. Hi, Joe. And a lot of comedians I enjoy can both share funny stories as well as very vulnerable ones. Correct. Mm-hmm. Both require psychological safety, and that's also something you have to consider at work.
Right. And not everybody's going to get it. So the time has gone so fast. I do want to encourage folks, please sign up with us. Please connect with us on LinkedIn. This is something we're both very interested in, and if you want to play some games and have some fun, there's Laura and I have put together an improv game deck where you can play. It's called Sponto Time. If you go to spontotime.com, you can find out about it. And improv, a lot of people go to improv because of the humor aspect. It's not the main function of improv, but it's certainly a very active result of improv because so much of improv is surprise, and surprise leads to laughter.
Yeah, and also, yes, and another thing people like about improv is there may not be jokes happening when you're doing some improv exercises, because I'll do sessions through Zoom where we do spontaneity skills, and I'll pull out the Sponto Time deck and we'll work through some games and do improv to help public speaking. However, the humor also comes from watching the struggle. You're in the audience and you know that person is making up everything on the fly, and you enjoy watching the struggle. So think about that, and that's kind of the fun part of it all. The struggle ends up being really enjoyable for the audience. And that's why we say things like, don't share your success stories, share your failure stories, because people want to learn and see that struggle.
They want to see the struggle because you're successful comes as a result of the challenges for most of us.
Well, this has been a very, very fast-going half hour, and I want to thank everybody who participated. Somebody said, oh, here we are, spontotime.com.
Thanks, Richard.
And let's see, other comments. Bob King once again said a lot of sales organizations don't realize that role-playing is just targeted improv. Just about everything I ever do as a salesperson is 100% improv.
Yeah, we can have another talk, another session. I'd love to have this session about the improv role playing and sales, and that's an interesting topic also.
Right. I've done sales sessions and training sessions, and how do you do that without improv and role playing? It's amazing. People lighten up and they do it very well. Yeah,
role playing has the same effect as icebreakers. It's like people hate that phrase, but they don't understand it. And improv is not role playing; it's role creating.
And one final comment we have here, Christina.
Oh, Christina
Gippert. Thank you for coming, Christina, and thank you for saying that you love the 4 functions of humor. Many thanks to both of you. And with that, I think we can close the session off. Thank you very much for joining us today.
Join us on LinkedIn.
Join us on LinkedIn. Feel free to reach out and send a connection request.
Questions? Yeah, I'd be happy to answer questions. Bye, everybody. Thank you.
Bye now.